Yep, it's time.
Okay, so will you Emma?
Roll call. Director Daniels,
I'm here.
Vice President LaHue,
Here?
Director Jaffe, Director Christensen,
Here.
and President Lather.
I'm here. Thank you. So now that we've called to order, we're going to move to the closed session. We have a member of the public that wants to speak on this item prior to closed session.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I would first like to point out in item 1.1 that the case number for the 6th District Court of Appeals case is incorrect. That's not the case number for that appeal case. I would also like to just again implore you to consider not injecting this treated sewage water into the aquifer. The State Department of Water Resources is reviewing direct potable reuse and is in fact holding webinars tomorrow and the next week regarding pathogens and chemicals in the draft DPR regulations. I ask that you hold off injecting this treated water into the aquifer. And I also ask that you consider mitigations to the conveyance system that is now in the works to address the change in the effluent quality. It now will have chloramine. You will be crossing under, the pipes will be crossing under the San Lorenzo River. How will you know if there are leaks with chloramine in the effluent that is toxic to all aquatic life? How will you know? What mitigations are you building in to the conveyance system to address the crossings over the streams and under the San Lorenzo River with chloramine in the effluent? And that is new. That was not at all analyzed in the original EIR. And unfortunately, your district has refused to analyze that impact and to make any mitigations that I've seen regarding that.
Thank
So
you, Ms. Steinbruner.
I'm
Your-
asking you, please.
Okay, well, now we will move into closed session and return at 6.
Before we do that,
Yeah.
the speaker obviously does not know that we're not doing direct potable reuse. We're doing indirect potable reuse, which has been allowed for years and years. It's not new. It's standard stuff. There are already approvals for that. Everyone's been doing that, and we're just following along with all the others that are doing that.
And the
I
water,
agree that, the direct potable reuse is a new thing, but we're not doing that. We have no plans to do that.
that would go directly to people's pipes, just to be clear. It'd be the same process for advanced purification, but that's what they're talking about, rather than groundwater replenishment and then, then reuse after it's been in the ground. So thanks, Bruce. I was thinking the same thing. All right, so
Just to
we'll
be clarified, yes, I agree.
all right, so leaving to go to closed session. Got it.
Yes, we do, Vice President LaHue. So we got 2 minutes. Okay, it looks like we've got 1 minute. Got to get everybody back in. Okay, it's 6:40. Is everybody here? Let me see, Carla. Okay, well, we've returned from closed session and we don't have a public hearing. So the next item would be board members' opportunity to remove items from consent agenda. So
I have nothing.
nothing from Bruce?
Correct.
Correct. How about you, Tom?
Nope.
Carla?
No.
Anything said?
Oh, what, am I still muted?
No, I heard you, Carla.
Okay, all right. No, I don't have anything. I was just looking for Bruce Jaffe.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about him, but he didn't come in. So he's still absent. And I have nothing, so we could move on to consent agenda. I guess we're supposed to, let me see.
Allow
See if
comment.
there's any public comment.
Yes.
2 minutes.
District Council Nelson, we received a request to speak on items 4.1 and 4.5, but they were not pulled for further discussion. Should we allow 2 minutes at the consent now?
That would be up to the
Yes.
board, but I'd recommend we go ahead and allow the public comment at this point, but only
Okay.
one public comment period.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak on these. I'm never sure of the protocol for how to request time on certain items. But I want to, first of all, on item 4.1, say that I did write your board this afternoon, I think, about the minutes, how the video for last meeting is not available to the public. Your action minutes only record basic who made the motion, who seconded it. There's very little discussion in it for content, and there is zero in terms of public comment content or even the speaker. So it is, as you have said, incumbent upon the public to go to the video and find that out. But your video is not available. So I ask that in the future, the videos be put up promptly after your board meetings. Item number 4.5, I'm quite surprised to see such a significant issue on the consent agenda, especially when the cost overrun is nearly 50% higher than the engineer's estimate of $800,000. The bid of $1,289,082 is significantly higher. Why is it higher? Isn't your board interested in that? There's no discussion about that in the packet.
30 seconds.
Monitoring wells WM1 and WM2 are upstream of the injection well at Willowbrook. MM2 is upstream of the Monterey injection well. TLM 4BC is reasonably near the two water mutuals and private well, but needs to be closer to protect those water users. So I would very much appreciate more discussion of this highly significant project.
Bruner, your time is up.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any discussion among the board members?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second,
We've got approval and a motion and second. Emma, roll call, please.
Director Daniels,
yes.
Vice President LeHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe is absent, Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Lather.
Yes. So we will move on to the next item, which is oral communications oral and written communications. So at this time we have opportunity to comment for up to 3 minutes.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Oral and written comment here. I still am having difficulty finding when I go to the newly revised website where the public communication is. It's not a separate place anywhere. And I know that you have spent a lot of money redoing the website. It's not user-friendly. When you click on the downloading the board packet, you come up with 3 choices: HTML, PDF, and I think agenda. So it's difficult to find where is the correspondence. And Ms. Olin has made some comment about that earlier, but it is not user-friendly the way it is now. And I request that it be made, again, more, either include written correspondence within the agenda packet or put it in a separate place, as you have done in the past, to make it transparent to the public. Again, I want to mention that there are 2 free webinars coming up regarding direct potable reuse. And yes, I did understand what the difference between indirect and direct potable reuse. Of course I do. And what I was protesting was indirect potable reuse. The reason your district is doing that is because that's where the grant money was. But quite frankly, you have the ability to reconsider and to use direct potable reuse to address your water shortage woes. And I, of course, understood that and am quite distressed that I was maligned and had no opportunity to clear my information. So I hope that members of the public will participate in these free webinars. The first one is tomorrow regarding pathogens in the treated sewage water injection systems. And I think we can all learn from this information tomorrow. I have observed the traffic jams in the area on Soquel Avenue near the Chanticleer site, and people are very upset. They've not seen anything yet. So again, I hope that you will re-examine your pathway and look at the off-ramps that your board was very concerned about when this all began. I think you're there and need to consider off-ramps. Thank you.
Well, thank you for letting us know that you prefer direct potable reuse over indirect. Let's move on. Bruce, you're first.
Yes, I want to respond to the speaker. The notion of us switching from indirect, which we know has been proven out over probably decades now, and moving to direct would just allow some devious person to sue us when we change the EIR and then hold us up for years and cost our customers lots and lots of money. So I do not, for one, support going to direct potable reuse for that very reason.
Tom, you're next. Do you have anything to say?
Nope.
Carla?
Yeah, I was actually going to recommend the webinars myself, just for general information. I think it's worthwhile to stay up to date on what the technology is, because we've seen a lot of things thrown out just, you know, it pays to be more knowledgeable. In point of fact, there are some communities in California that are using direct potable reuse because the water, their groundwater is so contaminated that their only viable and pure potable water is through direct potable reuse. So it's just, they're definitely better served with that water than any of the water they had available previously. So, but I'm not also think it will be a long period of regulatory and you know, research and you know, and discussion before direct potable reuse is ever approved in California. So no one is ever even considering that in this plan. So I just wanted to make that clear too. But that would be the gold standard for purity anyway, right? So that's all. It's
Yes,
tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
But-
It's just a webinar.
Thanks. I'm going to try to join that. I have some other meetings, but yes, I agree. It's exciting to hear that direct potable reuse is moving forward, but it's not time yet for that. And we don't have to do that because we have other options. So let's move on. There's no reports. So now we're on to administrative business. Item 7.1, conditional and unconditional will serve letters. Taj, you're the presenter.
Yeah, hi, good evening, directors. There are two will serves for you to consider tonight. I want to reiterate, any will serve over an acre foot per year offset has to come to the board per your policy. And both of these exceed that threshold, so that's why you're looking at them. The first one is a proposed subdivision in Soquel, not far from our tannery well, and it is a 5-lot subdivision. And what's unique about this one is that all the lots will front an existing water main, so very little, if not any system improvements would be required. They would need to put in services to each lot, maybe a fire hydrant. It's yet to be determined, but this will, you know, if gets approved tonight, return to you at the unconditional stage. And at that point, we would have an agreement that we would enter into, but not much infrastructure to put in. The second one is so the first one, 7.1.1, is currently within the district's service area. 7.1.2 is outside of the district's service area. It's down near La Selva Beach, and it's a rather large parcel that is about 15 acres. And the applicant is proposing to build one single-family home and an ADU, accessory dwelling unit, on that parcel. This is a parcel that was examined earlier in May, and it is looking to be annexed in on their own timeline, and requested staff put this before the board, and they fully understand that they will, if approved tonight, go down the path of their own LAFCO application and their own CEQA evaluation, and all the WDO requirements are in place. Now, one thing that's unique is that it is a 15-acre parcel, but our conservation staff has determined that, a water demand offset based on 15 acres is not really appropriate in this case. So they've limited it to about an acre. And that's why you see the 1.42 acre feet per year offset. The existing well is acknowledged, would need to be destroyed as a condition of service. Another condition of service would be getting approval and a LAFCO annexation. It's right on the border of the current boundary. This is not an extraterritorial service at this time. Several of the other lots that you might recall back in May, early May, we looked at did have existing service, but this lot does not have existing service. And the applicant has paid the 10% deposit for the water demand offset and will serve application fee. In this case, if LAFCO does not approve it, or if any of the other approvals don't go forward, we would recognize that and refund this deposit because of the unique constraints that this parcel may have to face. I think that's all I have to report on. There are several attachments and maps you're welcome to refer to in your discussion, or ask any other additional questions. I'd be more than happy to answer.
Director Jaffe has joined us. At this point, we are going to go with public comment for 2 minutes.
Ms. Steinbruner?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Thank you. I have concern about this, and I'm quite surprised to see Mr. Cartwright, who incidentally has sat on your one of your standing committee assignments as a resident of the public, a resident of your district, come in now with wanting to do his own parcel. I had understood at the May 4th meeting that he was willing, or you referred to him at that time, the applicant, was willing to pay all of the CEQA costs and the LAFCO costs, which could be significant. I have talked with the people at the Renaissance High School and also the KOA. They are working with, at least the Renaissance High School is working with the Rural California Assistance Corporation to move forward on this annexation. And I think that this shows that you are offering favoritism if you approve this tonight for Mr. Cartwright. I mean, it's his business what he wants to do, but I'm curious about why he wants to now go in on his own. His parcel is zoned CA, commercial agriculture. In the general plan, it is classified as agricultural land. So I would be concerned that your board is going to approve a 1 acre water demand offset when in fact it sits on a 15.5 acre parcel of agricultural land. And I think that it would behoove you to ensure that if it is annexed, that the water is would only be for the residential use and the ADU. that apparently he plans to put on. So I am concerned about the threat.
Time. Back to board discussion. Director Daniels, do you have anything to discuss?
No, I don't.
Director LaHue.
Just clarification, I think the memo says that there's a deed restriction to prohibit irrigation of the remaining 14 acres. So just to make sure that's clear.
Yes, I was going to mention that if nobody else did.
Okay.
Director Jaffe. Welcome.
This is a new thing. This is for an individual parcel. Doing a will serve in an area outside of our territory. And I understand that LAFCO may decide to put it in our territory or may not, but it's not in our control. So it's in a different category for me than, and I'm concerned about setting precedents.
So Bruce, I think just as last time we discussed it, I think there's multiple parcels out in that area that are under extraterritorial use right now. So I don't think it's a new thing. Staff might clarify.
I was a little confused. I thought there was an existing house there. There's not. Taj?
No, yeah, no, there is not. It's a vacant agricultural piece of property right now.
But agricultural property can have one house on it.
Yeah, there is no structure on the property at this stage.
Okay. Director Christensen?
Yeah, I don't think the precedents here apply because those precedents were made a while ago when before our water situation, our drought situation was made known. And I would like somebody, either Rochelle or Tom LaHue, please, to let me know how this fits in. We give a conditional will serve, and that provides an underpinning for them to apply for the LAFCO, or how does this really work? How does it usually work? And I don't think we should consider precedents in this at all. It's just that was a different era. We're in a new era, and we need to really look at this as a current what our current situation is. And I want to continue, but I'd like to hear more about how the LAFCO process works.
Sure. And Josh could either cover that, or we do have the executive director from LAFCO online, I saw. So if you'd like to hear from him, from Joe Serrano, we could have him elaborate if Josh wishes to have his support.
Yeah, I think, having the LAFCO executive officer speak is always a tremendous opportunity and resource. So I would defer to Joe, and then I can jump in if there's anything else to cover from the district's perspective.
Okay. Is he there?
Emma, are you able to unmute Mr. Serrano?
I promoted him, so he should be able to unmute himself.
Okay, there you go, Joe.
Good evening, board members. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
And I apologize. I've just joined the meeting, so I'm not sure what the question was, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The question is, how does LAFCO
Whoops.
agriculture, and they want to be part of the Soquel Creek Water District?
I'm sorry, I just heard a piece of that question.
Yeah, maybe somebody with stable internet should tell you.
Okay, I had the question. This is Carl Christensen, and I was wondering how the LAFCO, this is absolutely agricultural land. We have the Pajaro Valley Water Agency right next door to these plots, and this is an agricultural lot. How it is that this would predispose, how this would work with LAFCO regarding which district they would be placed in. It just seems, I'm really skeptical about this whole thing, to be honest. I'd like you to explain that process to me.
Sure. So that's a very good question. In LAFCO's point of view, the Soquel Water District is the most logical public agency provider for water for this particular parcel. And how it works is either the landowner or the district can initiate annexation, indicating that this property should be services from your water district. In this case, for Mr. Cartwright, he can submit an application and I will do my analysis to determine the land use. Can he build property there? Does the district have capacity? And that's when the district comes in to provide a will-serve letter indicating we are willing and capable to provide water service to this property. And that's a critical component in the LAFCO process. If we don't have that letter, then I can't really move forward because that is an indicator to me that the district is not supportive moving forward with the LAFCO process. So that's a key component. Assuming I get that letter, assuming I conduct my analysis and I receive other documentations that are required by state law, I will then deem the project complete. I will then schedule it for a public meeting with my commission for their consideration of approval or denial. I'm summarizing the whole LAFCO process, but the key component is at the beginning, whether or not the district is willing and capable to provide services. If I get the green light from the district, then I can move forward with my analysis.
I think we should be clear, though, this parcel is not outside the Pajaro Valley Water Management Agency. It is completely within the boundary of the Pajaro Valley Water Management Agency. So it's not in the district's area at all.
Fair point. And that's something that would be analyzed in LAFCO's analysis should I receive an application. Good point.
Okay, so I'll continue. The other aspect is at the last board meeting, we had an item that in which a number of parcels in that general area that are in the Pajaro Valley Water Agency area who are interested kind of in becoming part of the district. And it was an unwieldy mass, and it sounded like it was gonna be too expensive for some of the people who are interested. So the other question is this idea of piecemeal single lot applications to LAFCO. How would that, when there are other owners, I guess, potential customers in that same general area?
Another great question. Initially, there was discussions of including several parcels that are not owned by Cartwright in his application. That has since changed, which is okay. He is not required to include other parcels. There is benefits of including those parcels in his application, but that shouldn't deter the district or the other property owners to consider or move forward with annexation if they are in supportive of that. Again, the district can initiate annexation. The residents, the landowners, or the registered voters can initiate annexation. It sounds like the school is interested in other property owners. So we could move forward with a separate application if the district wants to go with that approach. And there's ways to help address not only the school, but also the parcels that are already being served by the district. So an application to annex those parcels would just really reflect what you're already doing. So it's just kind of updating the map, updating your boundaries to reflect the service area that you currently have, which in your screen, the green areas is parcels that you're already serving. So that, to me, it makes sense to annex these parcels in the foreseeable future because you're already serving those parcels already.
Yes, but I'm concerned that those were extraterritorial service agreements were made at a long time ago, or a relatively long time ago, before we were aware and declared a stressed aquifer. The water that would be providing water to these customers is coming from a stressed water, stressed aquifer. And that's my principal concern, is whether we should really be expanding our service area at this time when we don't have a project in place and we don't know what is going to happen. So, so that's why, would you put these parcels into our district without our ability to serve water to them?
Well, LAFCO's at the position to direct the district to make any boundary changes. So that will be up to the district.
Okay.
And I think you're raising good points. So I would defer back to the district if you want to move forward with annexation or not. But if you are, I am more than happy to help you with the process.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not that familiar. I like the work that LAFCO does, but don't understand the exact process of how this works.
I'm Tom.
I think, I was just going to add something, just that Carla makes some good points about, the timing of this kind of thing. I mean, so, maybe, thinking about expanding our services at all outside of our normal, our current boundary, maybe we should wait until we have, a project in place. But I just wanted to point out, just from LAFCO's perspective, I think, they look at the map as far as what makes logical sense as far as, a boundary. So, when you've got this kind of patchwork of, parcels that are already served, and then you just got a few that aren't. Usually the process is to try and make that a logical boundary. That's the only thing I would add. And it'd be nice to also, I was just going to add the coordination with some of the other areas like the school, and maybe whatever other parcels are right around there might require some investigation, but coordination makes sense too.
I agree.
So I'm kind of inclined to defer this until we actually, I didn't expect to see this so quickly after that last meeting. And I still would recommend that we defer it until we can really analyze what all these other potential parcels would be needing and whether we can provide that. So, and what it would imply, like, can you change agricultural land and develop it? That's one thing I don't know about LAFCO. If it's already designated commercial agriculture, can it be converted? Because on either side of, the blue areas, the places that we do have, they're part of the Soquel district. They're developments. They were surely agricultural properties before.
And just to answer your question regarding land use designations, the short answer is yes. The general plan can be changed from agricultural to residential or commercial, but that's a long process, and that the county has to update their general plan to do that. So it's a tall order. Short answer is yes, but it's complicated.
Yeah, the last general plan took 15 years. So.
And one of the goals of LAFCO when it was first established was to protect agricultural land and open space. So I think it would have to really be convincing and agree with the county general plan for something like that to happen. But I actually kind of agree with Carla. I think maybe we deal with our 5-lot subdivision and maybe not proceed with this until a later date.
That's my preference, actually.
Okay, does anybody else have?
I would like to bring up my issue again about ever endorsing these out of district things. Many of these lands you see here, the green, the red, and all the yellows, have Chrome 6. In fact, we had Chrome 6 in La Selva, and we had 2 wells in that area of La Selva to be able to service these areas. We have now since destroyed or disused all of our wells in that area. And then the only wells we have now are back, in the further area. And once again, our pure water Soquel, which is attempted to come along and stop the saltwater intrusion, doesn't extend down even to, that area. And so the more and more territories we add, and I can see this going all the way off the map down the, the south and the west and east, and everyone wants water, and the district down there is not going to serve those. So they would all like to get hooked up to our system so they can develop and know that their drinking water is safe and secure. And I think, the demand for that safe, secure water could grow hugely. And we don't really have the supply to further that, because it just goes and goes. And we have to pump further and further back on the, the upper left. And the more we do that, the more we have to pump up in that, seascape area, the more that's going to cause that area to start having, chrome 6 or saltwater intrusion or other problems. So I think, this is a foolhardy thing to just agree off the top of our heads when we don't know what the effect is going to be on the aquifer from all this demand that we're, basically allowing to happen.
Question. What are the alternatives for the landowner at the moment? I'm just like, it sounds like it currently has a well. Does anybody know?
Yeah, they could use the well or drill a new well if they wished. The applicant has expressed, desire to hook up to the water district, to Soquel, and I think there's been documented seawater intrusion in the area, so that's a big concern. And as stated earlier, that one of the conditions of service would be that the water, our water could not be used for agricultural purposes. So it would potentially, reduce the demand in that area.
That's one of the points I wanted to make, is that, in the long run, having a water supplied from an inland well that's not as likely to create seawater intrusion, and maybe even, behind a barrier provided by Pure Water Soquel, it might be better than having a coastal well. I agree that now's maybe not the time, but I just wanted us to consider that part of the equation too.
Well, I would like to see a more comprehensive plan for the area before we did that, honestly.
Yeah. Well,
I agree. In the long run, it could make sense, but until we have the Pure Water Soquel project completed, I can envision not a likely scenario, but a possible scenario of all the offset credits being used and somebody wanting an offset credit and then going, well, you gave it to somebody outside of the district and there's none there. So I think that, well, once we have our Pure Water Soquel project, built, operational, working, I'm open to looking at ways to protect the area from seawater intrusion, including serving areas outside our current service area, if we have the capacity to do so, but not at this point.
I was gonna, just to simplify things, maybe is to make a motion to approve the item, the conditional will serve letter for the 5-lot subdivision.
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, a second for the 5-lot subdivision that is in our district. Emma?
Roll call, Director Daniels,
I know.
Vice President LaHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Lather.
Yes. So we'll move on to,
So 7.1.2 will go down as no action. That's what I'm hearing?
for
Okay.
7.1.2, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we're at 7.2, adopt draft 2021-22 budget. So the presenter is Leslie Strom. Are you there?
I am. Thank you. So this evening, we're bringing back the draft 2021-22 budget. We first looked at it on May 4th at the board budget workshop. We have compiled the budget as we have in past years according to the Governmental Finance Officers Association best practices for budget presentation. And so this year we've brought the budget, but we've made a few changes since the board workshop. And I just kind of want to go over those real quickly with you so you're aware of them. After our board workshop on May 4th, we had an additional discussion on some of the projects that we had included. And there were just a couple of projects that, that Christine thought we should maybe go ahead and move from the funded to the unfunded list, because she wasn't sure we had the bandwidth to get them done this year. So we did go ahead and move a couple of projects off of the funded list, but then we also had a couple of projects come back on the funded list. And what they are is mainly rollover projects that we discovered were not going to be able to be completed by the June 30 fiscal year end. So there were two projects last year that we had budgeted for out of the capital facilities reserve. And they were the installation of a couple of variable frequency drives at the Rosedale and Garnet facilities. We aren't able to get those done, so we did roll them over to next year's budget. Also using the same funding source, the capital facilities reserve. So those have been added. And then the other project that we are not actually going to get the trees planted, although I think Taj has completed an assessment of where the trees will go. We're not actually going to be able to get them in the ground by June 30th. So we did go ahead and roll the O'Neill Well tree mitigation project over to 21-22 as well. And then on the operating budget side of things, we did make a few changes on the staffing side. We've had a couple of staffing discussions post workshop, kind of holistic staffing needs and where the future of the agency is kind of headed here a little bit. And we did go ahead and move the public outreach coordinator position that had been budgeted at a 0.8 FTE. We went ahead and it had been approved by the board at 1 FTE, but we had only staffed it to 0.8 FTE. So now we're going to go ahead and budget for it to be fully staffed at 1 FTE. And then we also had a board approved position for a water resources planner that we have never filled. And so I didn't budget for it, even though it was approved. So we've gone ahead and added funds for that back to the budget. And in addition, we have also, we're also proposing that we bring on a temporary associate engineer position. This was actually a position that we had budgeted for about 3 months of overlap toward the end of the year because we had a pending retirement of an associate engineer in July or August of 2022. So we thought, well, let's go ahead and budget that overlap, give them time to train before the retirement. But then as we're discussing our needs as an agency over the next year and kind of a ramp up of some of these project activities, it was proposed that maybe we go ahead and bring that associate engineer position on instead of a 3-month overlap, make it a 12-month overlap. And that would provide us some needed support for Pure Water Soquel, as well as hands-on training for the position, the retiree that will be leaving in summer 2022. So those are the changes that were made to the personnel budget. And then there were just some small tweaks that we made to the expenses budget for the janitorial costs and the security monitoring for the new trailer. And other than that, what we're presenting for you tonight has not been changed from what we discussed at the board budget workshop on May 4th. So I would like to go ahead and acknowledge this year that a lot of the photos that you see are by Mr. Kevin Panchad, and as well as the district's outreach team. The communications team has provided me a lot of good pictures in this COVID year when we're not able to get out and meet as often as we have been in past years. So I'm happy to go ahead and make any further revisions that you would like to see to the budget. We can go ahead and adopt it this evening if you're ready to adopt.
Thank you, Leslie. We have one public comment, I believe.
Yes, Ms. Steinbrenner?
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I have not been able to examine the final budget as much as I would like to, but in hearing Ms. Strom's report, I would be concerned if I were a customer at the number of projects, capital projects being now unfunded. Again, I think it is way past time that your board re-examine the feasibility and affordability of the Pure Water Soquel project to your customers, and to be looking at ways to cut back on that project rather than to expand. I'm concerned that you're adding more and more people, and the people that you have on staff, you're giving handsome monthly bonuses to for, in my opinion, simply doing their jobs, and now hiring on more people to help them do those jobs. I really am concerned for your ratepayers. Many of them are struggling to pay their water bills, and the rates are going to go up again and again to pay for Pure Water Soquel project. And it seems like money is no object when your ratepayers are really, really hurting. And you say there's no relief for those who cannot pay their bills other than to just set up a payment plan. So again, I urge you to go out and talk with your customers. Be back at the farmers market. Talk with those people because they're really, really struggling. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move to comments by the board members. Director Daniels.
Yeah, I would like to propose that we add a new line item, if you will, the Becky line item. It's all the costs that Becky has had for our legal team that we have, all the costs that our employees have spent on these legal paraphernalia that have been coming at us. The cost for consultants, the EIR consultants, the hydrology consultants, just to show where a lot of those costs are directly coming from, rather than spread them out throughout the entire budget. We should have them in one place so that our customers are well aware of what some of the costs to them are coming from. I think our customers would like to see that. So that's my proposal.
Thank you. Vice President LaHue.
Hi, yeah, I have a couple small little typos, of course, but this is quite a document, and I know it just seems like it gets more than just a budget. There's kind of an examination of our priorities. There's some really informative sections on every department. I think you read through this thing, you get a really good feel of what the district's been up to and where we're headed. And I just want to compliment the finance staff, and I know it's probably a team effort there, but it's, I really honestly have a hard time reading budgets and understanding things, and this just still, I really think it's a great job. So thank you. And yeah, it's expensive to protect our water. I wish it wasn't. I really wish it wasn't, but that's the way it is. And we're trying our best to save money through grants and low interest loans and management of getting loans at really low rates to replace higher interest loans. And I think finance has done a good job of trying to minimize those risks too, while also keeping our credit rating good, planning ahead so that we can borrow money at a cheaper rate when we need to do a large, project that saves our water supply. If you don't mind indulging, like page 94 of 300, it's just a small little typo, but it's, under employment, about the fourth line down, I'm pretty sure that should be unemployment. This compares with an unadjusted unemployment rate of 8.3% for California. I'm hoping our employment rate's better than 8.3%. So that was one little thing. And then on page 115, I thought that there could be some clarification to the third graph on the right. It says comparison of actual water use to budget expectations. And it would be nice to have a line for budget expectations or labeling the vertical axis that shows, this is percent above expected budget or something. That's all, just clarification of that graph. And that is all I have.
Good. Thank you. Director Jaffe is next.
Yeah, I second Tom's comments about how this document is much more than a budget. And one thing that came through when reading it was that our finance people are looking for ways to save money by, whenever there's an opportunity to refund to fund at a lower rate any existing loans we have, that comes out in it. So I commend the department and Leslie for putting together a document that is easy to read and shows where we're spending our money. And it is expensive. And the fact that we have long-term loans and grants will decrease the expenses as much as possible. And as always, I'm supportive of any programs that can help with that are legal for helping people who are having problems with paying their bills, their water bills.
Thank you, Director Jaffe. Now, Director Christensen.
We've looked at this, the various drafts of this budget document, and I have to say, it's always been easy to follow. I understand and approve of the changes that had to be made in this last iteration of it. And I just like to remind anyone who happens to be listening to this meeting that we're looking their water projects cost a lot of money. Even putting in a new water main costs a huge amount of money. That means that we should still do these projects. And the alternative to, as I view it, to this, to the Pure Water Soquel project is, we'll have a severe overdrafts and a seawater intrusion, and we will be facing water shortages. So that I don't think the staff has done a really great job of trying to make sure we can pay for it as well as we can, and found grant money and continuing to look for that and support. The state of California is supportive of projects that reduce seawater intrusion. So the opportunities, the potential opportunities are really good for continued support. So it's nice to read this again. I'm ready to approve it.
Okay, thank you, Carla. I think that there's also a misunderstanding or maybe a lack of education when it comes to what budget items mean. And when something is budgeted but is unfunded, it does not mean that we're going to build it with no funds. what it means is that if we have extra money or one of the other projects cannot move forward due to something like environmental
Oops.
projects in the order of importance so that we don't go without doing them. A project this year. It has nothing to do with funding. Am I correct? I better say that, Leslie, but
Yes, you are correct. The unfunded projects is actually, those are things that in past years we may have left out of the budget. And with this new kind of flexible budget format, we include them in the hopes that if something does change and those funds become available or another project is delayed, that we can go ahead and move that project up and get it done.
yeah, I just want to make sure that our ratepayers aren't concerned about something that is not a true issue. That bothered me a little bit. And I agree with all my other directors about getting projects done, and the cost of having safe water is high. And all of California has an issue, and we are lucky to be able to find an elegant solution to this problem that we have. Not everybody has that opportunity. I think one of the other board members said, and I think it was Carla, that or maybe it was Tom, that one community can't do non-potable reuse because their groundwater is so polluted they can't use it. So you can't do that. So that's why they're looking at direct potable reuse rather than indirect. Sorry, I said that wrong. So yeah, we're lucky that we have this solution. We're lucky that the state supports us. And that's all I have to say. Yes, Ron?
Thank you for recognizing me, President Lather. I just want to say your intuition or your observations are validated by some of the third-party consultants and Overwatch people in the financial management area. What they have said as we pursued the grants and seen our budget and the way we're positioned is that again and again, the amazement at our financial team, their organization, the way they positioned us, the set us up for the audits. It has streamlined the process and saved us so much money. And so this is not just us reflecting on this and knowing what we see, but third parties. So I just wanted to say that because you don't get the opportunity to hear that. But I mean, they are very, the accolades are there and they are real about what Leslie and her team has brought to the party for this district. And I just wanted to share that because, again, you don't get the opportunity to hear that from them.
Yes, Bruce?
I would like to make motion number 2 to incorporate any minor designated modifications and adopt the draft 21-22 budget as final.
Second.
Oh, Tom can-
We've got a motion. Emma, will you please do the roll call?
Roll call. Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President LaHue,
Yes, and thank you again.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Lather.
Yes. So we can move on to the next item. Association of California Water Agencies, Region 5 candidate nomination for 2022-23 term. The presenter, I guess, let's see, it's Ron and Emma Olin.
Yeah, and actually, again, Emma's going to take this one. She wrote it. So Emma, please take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. So this item is presented for the board to consider nominating a board member to serve on the the Association of California Water Agencies Region 5 board. So if a board member is interested and wants to move forward, there's a nomination form that staff can help complete and submit, as well as the resolution that's presented to you. So if someone is interested, then the recruitment will start. And in August is when the Aqua board will give their recommended slate, and you would start your service in January 1st, 2022.
Sorry, I double muted myself. Do we have public comment on this item?
We do not.
We do not. Okay, so we can move to board discussion. Anybody want to be on the Aqua team?
Carla, were you thinking about it, or was that something else?
Well, I was thinking about it, attending my first meeting, and I couldn't figure out how to log on to it. So I'm kind of hesitant to say that I would do it without actually having even been to a meeting, unfortunately.
Okay.
Unless someone else has been to one, they can explain.
I've been attending these meetings for years now. I report on the groundwater occurrences, and it's something they do. They have each of the groups, we have a representative to report to the Zone 5 here, the Region 5. So that's all I've done.
Well, since you're already going to them, would you be interested in serving on it?
Well, you'd have to do a lot more, and I don't have any desire to do a lot more. Just going to the meetings twice a year and reporting on groundwater activities is plenty for me.
I know I'm.
If you'd like to do it, hey.
Well, it's easy when it's a Zoom meeting, but it's not so much.
Yeah, it's probably going to stop that this fall.
So
That means you'd have to go to the annual and biannual meetings. There's a meeting twice a year.
I don't think anybody else is interested, Carla, so it's you or we move on.
I'm way overdrafted. I'm not even going there.
I didn't hear any volunteers from Bruce, Jaffe, or Rochelle.
You know, Carla, if you want, we could endorse you on this, and then you could make the decision whether to do it when you find out more information.
I guess that I would be okay with that.
I would move Carla then.
I could ask Garrett, was really involved.
So I'd like to nominate you if you desire to submit a candidate nomination.
Thank you. Okay.
I'll second that. Oh.
I got Director Daniels for the second on there. So
Yes, that's good.
Okay. Roll call. Director Daniels.
Yes.
Vice President LaHue.
Yes.
Director Jaffe.
Yes.
Director Christensen.
Yes.
Don't feel pressure, Carla. I mean,
Yeah.
we know
Just an option.
if you want to do it, go for it, and we'll be 100% behind you. If you feel like, I don't want to, you're not going to hurt us. Okay.
Just still smarting from the special districts interview that I did.
It's good practice.
I know, but it was a blindsided thing, pretty much.
Do we need to,
I have one last vote. President Lather.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I want to be clear.
did
Do we
need to
move
make
both 1 and 2?
Yeah, that I meant to do 1 and 2.
Yeah, okay, so do I.
Okay.
All right.
Does that work?
Okay, so
But President Lather, let me be clear. Josh, jump in. Do we need to do the count for number 2, or are we okay just adopting the resolution? I just want to be clear to give Carla the green light.
We can vote again. It's easy.
Yeah, I think just for clarity, why don't we vote again? Apologies.
Yeah.
I'll make the second motion now.
I'll second the solution.
Okay, go ahead. Go for a full Bruce.
Okay. Director Daniels.
Yes.
Vice President LaHue.
Yes.
Director Jaffe.
Yes.
Director Christensen.
Yes.
And President Lather.
yes.
Are there any other motions? We need to do it again, second time?
And is there anything else we missed?
Don't feel pressured, Carla. It just gives you the option.
Now we've made 2 motions for you, but don't feel any pressure. Okay, so now we didn't remove anything from consent agenda. So the next item is adjournment. I adjourn the meeting and we will be back in a couple weeks.
Yep. And then there's no meeting in early July. So then there'll be a month between those meetings.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that my birthday present? My birthday
Yeah.
present was not to have a meeting, right?
When's your birthday?
July 8th.
Oh, there you go.
Anybody want to join me on the roller coaster? Let me know.
Oh,
Well, maybe the bumper cars.
Oh, I could do that too. Okay.
All
See you
right.
guys later. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.